Although many online guitar teachers talk about secret shortcuts and concepts that are hidden from the average guitar player, the reality is there is no one-size-fits-all approach to mastering the fretboard. The guitar fretboard features some fantastic smaller triad shapes that help to connect those larger scale shapes and arpeggios across the neck. Not only will they help you see the fretboard better, but they can also be used to instantly decorate chords and scales to make more melodic sounding chord progressions, licks, and solos. In this lesson, I'm going to show you a way to take average sounding triad shapes and decorate them into extremely musical sounding nuggets that you can translate into any key, any style, almost immediately. Make sure to download the backing tracks and diagrams from the link in the description below. Let's jump in. Today we are going to use the key of G. I did do another triads lesson a little while back. It's more of the basic triad info step by step. This particular lesson is slightly more intermediate. I will make sure to link the other lesson in the description below if you want to watch that one as well. Okay, as a quick review, there are three basic types of triads in any major key: major, minor, and diminished. These are the three basic qualities of chords that naturally happen in the major scale, and that's by stacking every other note, also known as stacking thirds. For this lesson, I'm going to assume that you already know and understand the major scale, that it's built of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and that any major scale contains just 7 different notes. And finally, that we build chords from this scale that happen in this order. The 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, 4 chord is major, the 5 chord is major, the 6 chord is minor, and finally the 7 chord is diminished, which is just not used much at all in popular music. Part 1. So for part 1 of the lesson, we are going to take the triads in the key of G. And specifically, we're starting out with the root on the 3rd fret of the high E string. So the triads in this section of the lesson are technically first inversion triads, which simply means that the 3rd is the lowest note in each of the chord shapes. G major, we've got our A minor, we've got B minor, we've got C major, we've got D major, we've got E minor, F sharp diminished, back to G major. Now I'm going to demonstrate the triads here in the key of G, just over this really basic track. So we have G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, going back to G major. Now, this doesn't sound bad at all, and it may honestly be the best thing to play at some points when you're playing music. But we can quickly make this sound even more musical by just adding a little bit of finesse. One simple and incredibly easy way to decorate each triad is to just simply take a picking pattern and repeat it through each of the chords. Now, this might be something that people just kind of look over. But that pattern can sound very musical. Now, something that I don't see people do that is instantly another very nice thing that you can do to decorate is just literally sliding the entire arpeggio from a half step below. I even hear sometimes people approach from 2 half steps below. It's really nice. Let's hear it on the track. Little arpeggio. Ooh, that half-step walk. Ooh. 2 half steps. Let's do a little slide. Arpeggio. Walk into it. Amazing how those couple little things just start to decorate that simple little triad. So one thing that I didn't demonstrate yet is you can even just take one of the notes of the triad a half step below and then slide in. And once you do that, just arpeggiate the rest of them. And of course, it doesn't have to be the highest note or the lowest note, it could be the middle note. Really fantastic. This type of playing really does require a bit of experimenting. And you're honestly going to find the sounds that you really enjoy and start to incorporate them by just kind of trying them. This is the type of exercise where you really are not aiming for perfect. You want to go for creativity, you want to experiment and see what you can find for yourself. It's okay if you hit some clams and make some bad sounds. And now for a quick break from our sponsor. My newest course, Creative Solo System. If you've been playing for years but still feel stuck in the boxes, or your solos just end up sounding like scale exercises, this course was made for you. This is a never before offered approach, especially if you've already tried all the classic lessons, memorized your scales, and you still aren't getting the musical results that you want. Inside, you'll get 34 killer backing tracks, a clear method for connecting the neck, and tools to start creating solos on the spot that actually sound like music, not just boring scale patterns. Go ahead and click the link in the description below, and let's get practicing. Part 2 is my favorite way to decorate triads. And the coolest part is that it is incredibly simple. You can use this in both solos as well as for chord playing. I'll play it chordally mainly here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever triad that you're on, let's say this G major right here, and then I'm going to think up just one chord in the scale. So the next chord would be A minor, right? So G major to A minor. And the best part about being able to visualize each of these chord shapes beside one another is that you actually can decorate the G triad with any of the notes of the A minor triad. So for example, I can take the G note on the high E string and I can hammer up to the A that's in the A triad and back. Now what finger you use doesn't necessarily matter. You could use your pinky or your ring. I think I prefer my pinky. You could do the same idea, moving the D note that's on the B string up to the E on the B string. And we can also do on the G, the B to C there. And you can mix and match. You could do any of them or even a combo of them together. Okay, I'm gonna demonstrate these moving through the entire scale, but I want you to realize first that just because the notes are in the scale and they're using the triad that's right above, it might not always be the perfect option. And this is where taste and your ear come into play. Check it out. Some things from earlier. This is really just one way of looking at decorating triads, which is really just embellishing with the notes from the triad above, right? But I did want to mention that you could also just see this concept as embellishing the triad by using the notes from the G major scale. And the coolest part is that you could embellish with the scale notes above or below. And that's what we're going to unpack in part 3. So let's jump into part 3. Let's be honest that this sounds pretty awesome, even just going straight up the chord scale relationship of the 1, to the 2, to the 3, to the 4, to the 5, to the 6, to the 7, back to 1. But let's go ahead and apply these concepts to a common chord progression. I've chosen the classic progression, G, D, A minor, G, D, C, which you might recognize. It's in the style of Knockin' on Heaven's Door. This is a great and classic tune that will come up commonly on jam sessions, but of course you can just apply these tools to many, many similar chord progressions. So my recommendation is to make sure that you have reviewed all 3 of the triad inversion shapes for major, minor, and diminished on the top 3 strings. That was in my last lesson. That being said, I'll make sure that all of the triad shapes that I use here are on this part of the lesson in the downloadable PDF so you can work on them by yourself. So in order to make connections between the triads more seamless, I'm not gonna, just take one of the inversions and move it all up and down the neck. That would essentially require me to slide all over the neck. So like say it would be like a G, up to the D way up there, down to the A minor, then G up to D, C. That could be a cool effect, but here I would like to focus more on voice leading by playing the closest available triad to the chord that I'm on. So I'm starting on this G at the 3rd fret here. And the closest D is our classic D shape right here. Then I'm gonna go up to A minor at the 5th fret. And then those same 2 chords repeat. And then I will play C at the 5th fret. That's 5, 5, 3. So now that we have those basic notes, let's look at the scale notes that surround each of the chords that we might be able to grab in order to embellish each of these chords. So we've got the G, and then we've got the D, those are a little trickier to play. Some of these might be a little bit more challenging fingering wise. And then we've got the A minor. Okay, then we've got G and D again, which we just did, right? And then we've got C. If we go below. Let's go ahead and hear this in context with the backing track. My recommendation moving forward is to go ahead and do this progression using all the other inversions of the triads up the neck. I'll make sure to include them in the PDF. Now that you've learned how to decorate triads, make sure to watch this video next to skyrocket your speed skills on the guitar in less than 1 week.